Boom! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakyan. Very excited to be talking about the business of cannabis. We have John Muraco joining us on the show. Hello.
How you doing? Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, my man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And this is great because it's super local, too. Our boy's right upstairs.
Yep.
5th floor.
Yep.
Yeah. And his company is Highwayz. Highwayz is about 2 years old now, and they're doing the cutting edge San Francisco work in distributing cannabis.
Yep.
Very important stuff. And this is very important on the medicinal side. This is very important on the recreational side. I'm getting all of these, getting this beautiful product of earth into the hands of the people, finally.
Absolutely.
Getting through this BS war on drugs stuff.
Yep.
Getting right to it. I love it. I love it. So John and I will be jumping into depth in that. You can check out Highwayz. The link's in the bio, and their Instagram link's in the bio. Go and check them out. We like starting with the big history, kind of state of humanity. Mm-hmm. So, we find ourselves as stewards of Earth, John. And what's your current take on what's going on with humanity?
Well, humanity to me starts from the original seed. The way you're raised up and how your environment influences you and how your parents raise you, if you have parents, determines the whole state of your living, which ultimately is humanity. In today's society, we're not really passed down with culture. Usually we're from different areas. People are first, second generation. And now in today's thing, we got to be raised up off the culture of America. And it's more so you learn this in school, not at home. So that's a big problem from the get-go, And then as we're raising up humanity, it comes to a point where everyone's for this concept of the dollar figure and not for the people. And then people's thoughts revolve around that, and it changes a lot of functions between humanity and society. You know what I'm saying? So I think humanity is a ground level problem from your environment from young, and also cultural barriers between people. That's how I see it. And then going forward, there's a lot of advancing things with technology, that can be used to benefit people. But if only if we use it in the right way for the environment, for our people, without the dollar in mind.
I like how you went to the seed, because that's it. When that mind is first birthed into the world, it's the responsibility of the parents and the community or that it's around, the environment that it's around, the child's around, in order to mold that mind in the most aware way possible into the world. And a lot of some of the traumas and the issues that we see in our world stem from that seed being improperly watered or nurtured, etc. That's good that you start us there. I like that. All right, so I'm sure that point is going to come back into our conversation. Get it? Seed of cannabis, seed of the child's mind. It'll come back in the conversation, I'm sure, many more times. Now, this is a complicated thing, getting involved in the cannabis business.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things to deal with. There's the laws that are slowly becoming more and more flexible and liberal. There's the taxes. There's all of the kind of like the companies that are getting in the grow sites, the testing that goes into the product, the distribution of the product. This is a very complex beast to deal with. And so tell us about how you even got it started in your mind that you wanted to get involved and you're watching the industry.
Yeah, back to the seed. As growing up, a lot of people around me smoked cannabis. It was a big thing, even though I grew up in New York in a small area, and it wasn't legal, everyone was still smoking. Even school teachers, even doctors in our area we knew, even former police cops, people always were talking about it. So it was always a thing growing up. And then my family moved out here, so I followed them. I went to USF. And as I came here, I followed the movement between the market rates, and I studied cannabis law in my free time while I was going to school. So it was a very interesting thing. It was a hobby, and it was something I talked about amongst peers. And from learning through that, I got kind of involved. I was living in San Francisco at the time, so it only made sense. And I applied for a license, and my mother applied for a license because I wasn't old enough. And with my help and her activity, we got the license, and that was the start of it.
It's interesting growing up in a place like New York where you're seeing doctors and other adults that are professionals in their fields that are using cannabis.
Yes.
Versus for me in South Dakota, it was no, none of that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's more liberal places like the Netherlands, right, in the world. So it's kind of like these varying degrees of like liberalness versus conservative with cannabis use. And even prior to, the last 100 years of what we've seen with drugs. Prior to that, it was, you know, just a natural plant of earth that we were using. So, okay, so while you're watching, you know, the growing industry and you're figuring out, you're studying cannabis law, figuring out how to get involved, what were some of those like key points that you took away that you were like, okay, I see how to get in, etc.?
Really just reading up on all the new laws and regulations, because even now the laws still aren't, they're still being changed all the time. So it's really just reading up and following it day to day. I did have my father and peers around me who were also kind of involved looking at the laws and stuff. And I had some friends in the industry. Even though I moved here, I still consume cannabis. I went to dispensaries. So meeting people, going to shows, I was involved. And then once you find a key point where someone's like, hey, this is going on, or hey, that's going on, you know, I decided to jump in.
Interesting. Now, kind of like coming to the seed of you getting involved again. Now, how did you end up like kind of positioning yourself to get started then? Because you said you and your mom went and applied.
Yeah, we originally we started as a collective like everyone else. People collectively would get products for people, grow products for people, and do it as a nonprofit, do it to service other people. You know, some people originally that we had, some were younger people, but a lot were also sick. People can't leave their houses. So it originally started as this medical thing where people who are paralyzed or have serious defects, people grow for those people. People have collective memberships where they provide services to those people, and then they would hopefully get reimbursed back for their time and stuff. As a collective start in the first year, you know, you lose money, but it's also in the good feed of things. So we started off as a collective. We went on weed maps back in the day, you know, and then built from the ground up there. And as a collective, once it transferred over, we found our position to apply for a license with the transfer, and then we were granted one.
Okay, very interesting. So does everyone have to start at the collective level?
No.
No. Okay, so you can apply straight to the license level.
Yes, now you can.
But before you couldn't.
Before you could get grandfathered in, and before you could still apply for one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, starting at the collective level is easier in a sense because you kind of get your footing and you have a higher likelihood of getting a license?
Yeah, you don't have to spend so much money for the green zone property. And nowadays there's so many laws and regulations, it's different. So when you start as a collective, you could start really with no footing and just start, you know, a collective means collectively amongst people. Even if you were to give meds to 2 people, you know what I'm saying? It's still a collective. So it was definitely a very easier way to get involved as it wasn't for profit.
Interesting, and that's just filing with the state that you're in. So Colorado, Washington, Cali, etc. You're going through the state capital saying I want to be a collective.
It's different in every state.
Different in every state.
Yeah, and then different in every county. It really trickles down. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so different for every county even. Okay, and then once you get the acceptance of a collective, then whether you're helping 2 people or helping 5 or 10, et cetera, more people, that usually what you're doing as a collective is you're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're taking cannabis from the local like county that is being grown in, or maybe a county nearby, and you're taking the cannabis, and then you're a distributor as the collective.
So yeah, sort of. Yeah, that's pretty much the broad sense of it.
Okay, interesting. And it can be anything from flour to tinctures, edibles, etc., topicals.
Yeah. Like, you know, like I said, back in the collective days, some of these products weren't around as is now. But yeah.
Okay. And then now this transitionary period, how does one do the whole collective to license? Again, is that different for every county and every state?
Nowadays, you can't do that because those days are kind of over. Now it's just straight up applying for a license, which a lot of people have already gotten in the process of. And some counties are coming down to where there's no more licensing, and then you do equity, you know, pretty much. And then big businesses are starting to come in. So, you know, you'd have to get property, find the right place, have someone who operates in the business, and then apply, et cetera, through that. Hopefully, one of the counties is still taking licensing, or you do some type of equity fit to try and apply for one.
So what's the number of licenses per county varies?
Yeah.
But is it usually around like 10?
It's up to the county.
It's up to the
county. They can say yes to 1, they can say yes to 5, they can say yes to 30. Some are banned, you know, and it's just like it's not allowed.
Whoa, can a county ban even though the state says yes?
It's in the works right now. The laws are still not complete. There's still discussion about this state county thing. it shouldn't be banned in a whole sense. You know, people, like I said, if you can't leave your house and you need cannabis and it actually helps you, you should be allowed to have it delivered into your banned county. I think that's only right.
That's right.
You know, because they're going to get it regardless.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to stop. So.
Yeah. A lot of the organized crime networks and violence that we see is actually a big, the reason why it exists is because of the war on drugs.
Yeah.
So we could have got rid of prohibition, handled this in a more ethical and more humanitarian and a more plants of the earth research and development.
It started off as a hippie movement. You know, people were originally hippies, believed in this cool, calm thing. It was usually nice gatherings. You know, some people who smoke, I've even smoked before and gotten paranoid. People can get paranoid or have bad first experiences and get this bad persona or might not want to do it again. Vice versa, other people who've never tried it, the smell's bad, the appeal's bad, but it started off as a hippie thing. My father was a hippie, you know, back in the days, and it transferred as this kind of like community central thing, peace and love and happiness, and then it got illegal, it got very profitable, and then it became sort of this illegal thing where you need someone who's intelligent but also is a criminal in a sense to sell massive amounts of cannabis. So now, being a dominant industry player, it turns into this illegal market, and all the prejudice about it just makes it even worse for people. You know, like I said, even back home where it was illegal, I knew working people who smoked it, but you know, everyone didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe someone's parent or someone you knew from the area, but it wasn't a pronounced thing. It was kind of kept in the darks. And when things are kept in the dark and when things involve cash handlings, it does become criminal. You know, and it definitely couldn't have been that way. It could have been a more beneficial way, but you know.
Yeah. There's a couple things where I want to go. One of the things that you mentioned I think is super important is this whole idea of like first experiences with medicines of the earth. And I think one of the main issues here is that with this lack of research and development, we don't actually know your entire, like, let's say biometric state. And if we knew that about you and we knew exactly what we were making as a cannabinoid profile and that we knew exactly the milligram dosage that you would desire, whether it just be 3 or whether it be 10 or 20, whatever, that it's just very interesting that if we had the proper research and development tools, we could make it so that we could decrease the amount of poor experiences that people are having.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it, and that definitely can be done in a sense.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's go to the where we were at, which this is very interesting. You were teaching me about this, and I think this is extremely important to mention. So you have these licenses that are being given, and these licenses, depending on the county, is 1, 20, none, etc. Then there's more nuance that goes into it, such as these green zones. This was very interesting. You can't be near a school, and then there's what are the other like nuances here? Yeah,
there's other in detail things. The main concept would be a school, and it's pronounced just an appropriate place to conduct business of cannabis. Necessarily more so like an industrial area where you're away from people, and then you could do your wholesale operations. Kind of the same concept as like a Jack Daniel's plant. You're not going to put one in the center of a neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So that type of concept of the green zone is how they look at it.
Okay, and then now when you're deciding on, a location, you were also pointing out how there's some, ma and pa peeps that are coming in, there's some corporate peeps that are coming in, and then you're identifying a location, you're setting up shop, and then, we have some of your products here, and you're picking kind of who you want to work with. In terms of distribution of their product lines.
Yeah.
And then you're also picking by the location that you find yourself in, your community that you serve in many ways.
Yeah, no, like I said, it started off as a collective. So some of these brands had the opportunity to start as collectives, build their brand, gain a following, and go forward. Vice versa, some people partner with corporations or big businesses, come on board and obtain a license with somebody, without somebody. And it really started as people in the community who smoked developed brands and developed all these strains. All the strains you see now, all the things that are good that are people that are smoking have been in the works for 5, 10, 15 years, and then that goes back into the concept of like the equity and the this and that and how is it fair, and the people who are making the laws trying to be fair even though they don't have this extreme knowledge and feedback is that people who develop this industry should get grandfathered in, and there is grandfathering laws. There are equity to help people who have been affected by the war, but it's still hard for some people. Some people who are farming, who let's just say a name, gelato, grew gelato, and now it's this big thing, and then you go legal, and now they don't have the same clientele, or or they have to build it a different way, and pay high taxes and pay the water and board to get their structures up to code. It can be difficult, and a lot of people find it hard to get a license, and some people who've actually built this industry aren't around, and people who want to be, there's not a lot of leeway between the laws. You have to follow it exactly as it is. Like even for us, we do decent revenue, we are expanding, we collect a lot of tax for the city and state, but it is high, and it definitely hurts the business a lot on a ground point. Also, why would you go to a dispensary, if you could just go down the street, especially in San Francisco? We all can see the inner streets of San Francisco and what needs to go on, and that people are not just selling cannabis. Cannabis is not even bothered, but people are selling cannabis on the street way cheaper than a store. And then that's really when it comes down to just the brands hold the uniqueness in it. But to gain that market, we need to lower the taxes and absorb this black market that isn't just going to go away.
Damn, you went to so many places there. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, that was cool. So it was all the way to the collectives that were first forming when they were figuring out how to, they spend sometimes up to 15 more years of building up their brand and their product, and the ones that are, some of them that started making the industry what it is are gone now, due to some of the regulations that have potentially been placed on them. Some of the we've heard stories of batches of cannabis that went through testing that that have failed. That when you test them again, they don't fail. So there's all of this. Because then you have to test for like mold and pesticides and all this other kind of stuff to make sure that the end consumer is using a good product. And then you took us through also through the taxes and kind of how crazy that is. If there was a more transparent way that everyone could see the dollars from the cannabis industry and how they're going to maybe affordable housing, maybe how they're going to solving some of the problems that we have. Yeah,
really, I think that there was a budget placed on this, and there was an appropriated number that was supposed to be allocated towards paying for all of these resources, and I don't think the state hit the threshold that they were supposed to, and so that I don't think that it generated enough profit to actually go towards that. And I think that they're working on readjusting some of the ideas that they initially had. I think a big thing would be taking on people who are in the cannabis industry and hearing what they have to say. And it's just kind of at this point right now where the state's trying to make it work, and they need to readjust some of the laws that are going into this. Especially like excise tax is very high from business down to consumer. And it's the same concept that they need to raise more revenue on the legal side. To gain that profitability where we can put it into schools and education and lights on the streets.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and this is so important because this amount of tax money going to transportation, education, all these crazy important fields, human flourishing, just to be able to do that more effectively with the legalization of drugs and the research and development of drugs is so important. Now, I think it's important to identify kind of what's going on with some of the we started tackling this. You're taking these products, you're helping be a dispensary, and then there's a bunch of other dispensaries that are doing the same thing. You're kind of trying to build your brand, differentiate yourself. Some deliver, some don't. Some go on platforms like Ease and Weed Maps. Some don't. So what is kind of why? Why do people make decisions like that?
Well, I could say from how we perceive. We started off with this connoisseur thing. We're a brand in a whole sense. I've been involved in things, not just retail. Retail would be like the last thing. I've helped cultivate, which I sent you a photo of that you could see. There's from cultivation to making products to just developing all these things. And I think everybody has to everyone hits their niche, really. A lot of brands that you see now that have been around, they hit their niche. Some cultivate, some are good at making oils, some are good at just flat out growing outdoors, saying not making strains. So everyone kind of hits their niche and sees where their part is. And our thing is Highwayz. Highwayz represents all the highways that we went in and out, meeting with brands, getting products, and that's where our name comes from on the retail sense. And then we also have only Exclusivez, which is more of the community. A lot of people know us, a lot of other companies know us. We've been at a lot of shows and events. We show face very well. We know our knowledge about the products. We have a lot of collective people who were cultivating really good strains that were highly known, been sold to very well-known dispensaries, so it really depends where you fit and what you're trying to be. And our trademark staple is we're trying to be that retail that is based out of San Francisco. There's a lot of other people that aren't based here delivering to here, and they can't source such a big menu. We source a great menu from products that we all try and we like to smoke, as all those, we try almost all of our products, and that's where the retail goes. But on the bigger sense, for us, we're trying to make that vertical integration where we can be known for our cultivation strains, and be known for our nice delivery and do that vertical integration where we can go from A to Z, because everyone in our network is that A to Z thing. And I look to bring the people amongst my group together to be known, maybe something like a Jungle Boys, which a lot of people who smoke know about, how they cultivate their own stuff and they sell it as well.
Yeah, this is good that you're starting to take us here. Ronnie, John said he had that image for cultivation.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's pull that one up, because I think this is going to be interesting to start talking about it from this perspective. So, all right, so certain people tackle different niches in the cannabis business.
Yeah.
So some solely cultivate, some solely distribute, some cultivate edible or topical tincture, etc. And there's vertical integration, which you started hinting at, and there's horizontal integration, which is very interesting as well. If you just try and get tons and tons of these plots of land and just grow it at like Israeli prices, like $14 an ounce, and then there's, this vertical integration that you were hinting at as well, is that if you are here and then you're taking it from here and bringing it through the testing phase, bringing it through your store, bringing it through the distribution all the way to the customer, that's your vertical integration. So you are identifying that you guys want to be vertically integrated. So teach us more about kind of like, why does someone like you guys pick to be vertically integrated?
I don't think want's the right word. Yes, we want to, but we have, like I say, I have a cultivator who cultivates great strains. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The dude just grows for himself in his house, self-tests the stuff. I've self-tested it, but I've had another company test it before. It's clean. He smokes it, and it's great stuff. It's better than a lot of the stuff out here. It's better than almost everything out here, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of people know about. I think that I want to bring my partner, my friend, my associate to light, bring him to legal cultivation, and that would necessarily be kind of that vertical thing. So we're bringing him on board.
Yeah.
We do have a distribution license that we're looking to work on. We're building it out right now. That could be brought to distribution to retail. And then I just like to control the products we have that go in and out. And I think it's a big fit for us to have that, especially when, like I said, if you look at a really known strain, like even Cookies, the brand, they have great strains, but they have the license, and we need to get that license, bring it to light, and then we'll be at retail with these strains. So it's a choice, and it's also bringing our brand to light, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's also this community that you're hinting at too, is that you found someone that's doing a really good job and you bring them to light through what you've built as well, and they help you guys out by providing you with a really good product that you guys work with closely. You're also talking about this as a medicine as well earlier, and I think this is, if not, one of the most important aspects of this is humans that need this for sleep, eating, pain. There's so many ways to use, and there's so many different methods to use cannabis, so many different dosages to use, so many different cannabinoids to use. So where do you see this now as a medicine coming into industry?
I think that after it goes federally legal, we'll see a lot of R&D, as people are doing it now, but it'll be done at a way higher advancement once it goes legal. And we'll see a lot of big changes. Like I've seen the CBD actually help people. My father's friend had lung cancer in the hospital. They pronounced him 3 to 7 days to live. He lived 2 months after that and lived, instead of being on morphine and couldn't breathe, he was talking and walking. So I seen that, you know what I'm saying? Not firsthand, but heard the stories. I know the guy had lung cancer, and I've seen even on the news, you see people who have seizures that take these things and are cured, or not cured, but it severely helps their symptoms, and it's a really big thing. And I think going back to the humanity thing, it's like if you see where this is benefiting somebody, why not make it legal in a sense? You know what I'm saying? And you see some of these people move out of state to go where it's legal to do it. And then I think also on another aspect that it does help a lot of people. Like it helps people to sleep, it helps people with hunger, it helps people to de-stress. I know a lot of people, I've collectively delivered to a lot of people who are like, man, without this, I'd be angry. You know what I'm saying? Without this, I can't eat. Without this, I can't sleep. And they resort to other things,
Yeah. Man, all those stories are so important to share, because then that's what can get us closer to the federal level of legalization, all the research and development that can go into this, the more it can get into the hands of people that need it as a medicine as well, need it as a plant of earth, as the healing properties that it brings. Now, you were also talking about this from a perspective of what will happen to the black market as the federal legalization comes in. This is very interesting as well. The decrease in organized crime, the decrease in violence, the potentially the more easy it is for people to get it as a medicine, for cannabis businesses to flourish. Teach us about what you think in that sense.
Yeah, the decriminalization for cannabis, that market is coming to an end. As far as that stopping people doing criminal things, it's not going to stop. Some people do what they do, and it actually becomes worse now because they're not making money off of cannabis. So you can see like really crazy people, even in San Francisco, go different routes, do different jobs per se. And the decriminalization, it's a lot of people are going to shine too light. I think people want to be people who do it illegally or semi-legally or fully illegally, that make these products and do the cultivation, would like to go to light if they can, and some other people that are just doing it purely for profit and do it as a criminal enterprise, it's going to be diminished, but I think first of all, the state and the government has to come up with a plan, and I think the initial plan is kind of the tax thing, you know what I'm saying, where it's a competitive market. If you have lower prices, people go to storefronts, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good lower prices on the like what we see. I think it's like something ridiculous, 40 cents a gram in Israel or something like that. That if the price is actually that low, I mean, people are going to go to the legalized route of getting the products, and no one on the streets will sell. If it's 40 cents a gram, that's absurd. No one will waste their time on that. But then, like you indicated, people will transition to other things. So then it's important to potentially legalize and manage the distribution of other drugs as well, and research and development there. Okay, let's talk on the actual products and strains. This is cool because you've brought us some of what you guys have.
Yes, I have.
So teach us about what you have here, why you've selected to go with brands like this, and what exactly these are.
We've like I said, I run through so many different companies. We try out so many different things, and we want to have a menu of products that are what we like to smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like we've got the LA Kush over here. This stuff, this is some great stuff right here. It comes all the way from LA. From our friend company. They bring it back up here. It's exceptional cannabis as far as just the strains, the way it hits. It's something that we like to smoke, and having it on the menu, everyone else feels the same way. And from that to even Nameless, which is down in Southern California, they're a really well-known company, and I think that it comes down to the flavor and how smooth the smoke is on these strains. You know, the great companies, man, we definitely want to keep them on the menu. We definitely shout them out. And it's definitely something that consumers love, you know, no matter what. And then we have other companies that we're trying to bring to, like Headstash is a newer company. They're also based out of San Francisco. I personally think their product's very good. So do my partners and my managers. So they get to smoke these products. We get to try it out and then put it on the menu for people to share their experiences and feel the same way. These are all indoors except for the Bon Vivant, which would be cultivated in a greenhouse light depth situation. And even though it's a little bit lesser quality because it's not indoor, it's an amazing smoke. And I would say that them not being an indoor really isn't that big of a difference. And also on a more legal aspect, just the way they brand these items. Like all these are legal brands, and the packaging is amazing.
Yeah,
and it's just something you want to consume without even opening. You want to try it.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right. From even the outside.
Yeah.
They do a great job at that. And then, you know, these nugs are just like, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, they're gorgeous. And like you said, a lot of this is the taste, the way it smokes.
Yep.
And then that's why you keep it in your product line.
Yes.
Okay. And that's, now, you know, some of these are sourced, actually, a decent amount of them are sourced from Southern California, from like Los Angeles.
Like Nameless and LA Kushes. There's a lot of brands down there.
Yeah.
Not all of them,
but that you guys like.
There's a lot down there that we do like.
Yeah,
yes.
that's cool.
And we are very in touch with the LA market and with the LA brands down there.
That's cool. But then, you can't, can you source Denver and Washington, et cetera?
No.
That
you can't cross state lines. Not right now. In the future, you definitely will be able to. And people might have really big facilities where they can push it out through statewide, you know.
Interesting. You can't distribute through
You can do whatever you want. Bullshit.
Well, that's why there's the market, the black market that exists.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
With the regulations.
You can get
that
this
go in
over
place.
there, but you know, not in this way.
Yeah, that's interesting that the restrictions in place, people will still get what they want.
Yeah, and then it's also, you see some of these brands will partner up and actually franchise into other states so people can actually access them, which is very expensive, very intricate, you know, in a sense.
So these are these all flower?
These are all flower.
These are all flower.
Yep.
And what percentage of your inventory is flower versus other products?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say like 80%, you know, a lot of it's flower. I think flower, you know, you could see the older market and all this and that, people moving away towards cartridges and vaping,
Yeah.
you know, but we'd like to have that flower, keep it old school, keep some of these strains that, you know, people really, you know, want to get. You know, I think vaping is a cool thing, you know, but everything comes down to the terpenes and the flavor of your product, you know, and a lot of the stuff that's distillate, you know, it's distillated, you know, substances, you know, it's not the actual thing. So that's why you like this, so you're getting into concentrates, which have the full embodiment of the whole plant that you can taste and feel, you know. So I think,
Interesting.
I think, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but the way it is the best way to consume it. You know what I'm saying? And not being changed in its original form.
Yeah, because it's interesting. 80% of your inventory is flower, and you speak about it from a very kind of like OG way, is that you get the full effects of all of the plant versus actually taking it and distilling it. And then you have to do things like actually like extract out all of what you used to distill it.
Yes.
There's just like, this becomes a complicated process, and you add not only complexity but potential. You're changing obviously a lot from a flower to a distillate that you can then put in a vape pen, or a topical, or an edible, etc. Some people can't smoke; they need to do an edible or a topical, etc. So there's a reason why. Now, does that mean 80% around of your sales are also in flower?
You know, 80% just a roundabout number.
Yeah.
The exact, I'm sure, is probably 70%. You know, 20%, 10%, with edibles being the lowest.
Edibles is lowest.
Concentrates being in the middle.
In the middle. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
people definitely try a lot of different things. I think the brands out there now are very good brands. You know, there's good stuff for people to smoke in California. I think that, you know, we try to relate with the people. You know, some prices are high. We're trying to be that average price thing where everybody can afford it. you know, and really have that whole full-bodied sense, you know, from flower to concentrates, but to really just have the flavor as the full embodiment, you know?
Yeah, that flavor, that full embodiment. Now, this is really interesting because when I'm reading this, I'm seeing, you know, they have this down, you know, 19.66% total THC, THCA 22.19%, total CBD 1.19%. Like, this is very, very precise. You know, this has to be properly tested,
absolutely,
documented and labeled and et cetera. And this is where we're going with this kind of precision cannabis, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and it's great. You know, if you're smoking real compliant stuff, man, it's smooth, it's clean, and it feels great. You know, and then that's another thing about our business. I think that we're so passionate into it. We know a lot of these companies that we really understand what's going on from the testing, what CBD is, CBG, and all these other things, and putting our 2 cents into making some products that can change the market and maybe change the way people are getting their products from A to B and how they're consuming them.
No name, just flame. This branding, so great. Mega wellness, nameless genetics. Interesting.
Maybe next time we'll smoke one on the podcast.
We smoke on set.
Next time.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I'll be waiting for.
Yeah, Ron's been waiting for it.
A little wake and bake.
Yeah, Ron. Okay, now, couple things on the way out that I think are important to target here. You guys, so teach us about what it's like to actually set up the infrastructure to be able to take a consumer request from your local area and then be able to take your inventory and distribute it to them.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, you get a call, you get an order online, it transfers to the receptionist, they take it down, they get the products, they shoot it out, and then it's either, you know, it's GPS tracked, and then they call outside, they come downstairs, they get their products, you know, in a simple general sense. We have a lot of different ways where we're looking to take the business. We're looking to take an approach where it's maybe quicker deliveries, and maybe we could come up to your door, and just thinking about different ways of presenting the product and getting the product to the people, you know, without a receptionist, you know, through online, using all these new IT things, you know, and really seeing where it takes us.
So then there's a decent amount of IT infrastructure that goes into this, because then you have to manage your inventory, you have to have a place for people to enter potentially their credit card information and process it via online marketplace, that kind of stuff, and then you have to track it, do the GPS tracking and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's like any other business. It's just more regulated, and there's some companies that you need that aren't fully there yet. So, you know, it's cool, man. It's really, for me, from the ground up to now, it's definitely really a corporation. You know, you got to follow all the rules. You got to establish your things correctly. You got to really know the laws and how you're moving forward. You know, and it's getting good. It's shining to light. I think the state's starting, and the state as a general is starting to realize some of the problems with the people, with the consumers, with the retail and the taxes. They're trying to do a changement. I think that the industry is going in a good direction so far for the compliancy, and I think that me and my team could put in some really good products and put in some really good new exciting ways to change this business and how you get your products, you know, from exit bags to presentation to new you know, devices and new ways of consuming cannabis, you know, that my guys are working on.
That's exciting, yeah. I'm excited to see what you guys have coming out. Devices, presentations, all this kind of stuff is exciting to see what's coming out. There seemed to be quite a big movement towards these really tiny vapes that people just like to, you know, that's kind of their like go-to thing. But then all this new ways of like packaging flower, very beautifully and presenting it very beautifully. With the scientific, you know, labeling as well of all the testing. Okay, what else about industry do you think it's important to highlight about the business of cannabis, where it's at, where it's going?
I think cannabis, you know, cannabis is one of those last originating things. Cannabis is something that, you know, it's the last end of the prohibition. This might be one of the last movements for it, you know, and it's interesting because it's prohibition, it's connecting a dark world with a light world, you know, A plus B, good plus bad, young to old. I think it brings people together. I think it's making a lot of people open their eyes. I think if enhanced in the right way, we could be going towards a good movement for the community, for the world as a general, because it brings people together. It's a new point of discussion, and it's really an eye-opener, you know, from the ground up to a guy selling a bag on a corner, all the way up to where they're thinking about R&Ding in different countries. You know, I think there's a lot of good things to be done, a lot of great products to come out, and I think it can help people seriously on all sorts of levels, even young kids to adults, from stress to society and as a whole. And I think we need to have people who know what they're talking about involved with the corporations as well. And that, back to that humanity, that if we can work together and come up with some nice solutions, with some nice IT, that in 20, 30 years, we'll be seeing some great advancements and some really good healing properties for everyone in a whole.
It's a good vision for it. It's a really strong vision.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in because you see things from a bunch of the different angles,
Yes.
obviously. And so when you're speaking about it with that vision, it's really powerful because then it really resonates with others. And for me, super excited to see it enter into our sphere in a more holistic way.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen it from all angles. You know what I'm saying? I am young. I am the CEO operating the business, so I know the law is hard. I know how to process finances, to talk between other businessmen, to organize your unit, you know, your family, your corporation. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen it on the back end. You know, even when I was back growing up in New York, getting dime bags, they used to call it, for $10.
That's right.
You know, and it was this business that was within a business, but you know, wasn't a legal business. So you see a lot of really crazy things going on between people trying to do this, do that, how they sell it, how you illegally market your products. You know, it's super cool, man. It's great to see be in licensed facilities and also talking with unlicensed people and what they think and what they're doing with their lives. You know what I'm saying? It's a sick movement in the country right now. I think it's, like I said, it's one of those last things that we have in humanity. Everything's getting kind of like super technology,
Yeah.
super down pat, you know, even to where there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dominance over how people move and perceive their days. I think cannabis also is one of those last things for people who don't have money to kind of become entrepreneurs easily and be involved in a society that they can form on their own, you know?
Damn, yeah, cannabis being one of those last sort of these sort of like plants, these things from the past that are finally being integrated into our future society.
Yeah.
Cannabis is kind of one of that. Yeah, I see that, and drugs in general being decriminalized and researched and developed. Now, just quick on HempCon. This is interesting because as you get into cannabis business, you get to do cool things like go and showcase
Yes.
at HempCon. So teach us about that.
Yeah, those are one of the things that, like I said, I enjoy, you know. The CEO standpoint's cool, you do all the corporate stuff, but this really brings out the brand, the team, people's ideas. This is the community, the society as a whole. We'll be there. I'll be there with a bunch of guys and workers, and we'll be there, man. So if anybody's free, anyone watching it, even yourself, come stop by, come smoke, come hang out, you know, and see what the industry's about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's at Cow Palace, March 8th through 10th, 2019, for those that are just listening with no video, in Daly City in California, HempCon. Check out Highwayz there. And also, you know, highwayz.co,
Yep.
links in the bio, check it out. Okay, questions on the way out that we like to ask our guests. This is simulation, so we must ask you, are we in a simulation?
Yes.
Tell us more.
No, I mean, it's a simulation of ideas being brought, you know, to this podcast where, you know, you're simulating just these thoughts and how the world goes. So it's, you know, in a sense, it's a simulation. You know what I'm saying? Our lives are simulated going in, going out, day to day. So I'm not saying yes to be intricate.
Yeah. And then let's ask you about, I want to ask you this one. What is, you want to full circle this back because you actually called it, the seed, right? The seed of these children being born into our world. My question then is, what do you think are some of these best guiding principles for the seed?
It's family, having a family presence. The biggest thing for a seed is having that older figure to water you, and feed you and show you a way. Some people grow better without having a way. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of people need to be led by somebody else and guided in the right way, or at least be in the right environment, society. And I think that, there's a lot of ways this could go about. And I think also that, the big C really is the government too. The government those are our father figures, that represent the country as a whole, that we need to be more integrated from the lowest guys to the upper guys, come up with fair rules and regulations for people, for everything advancing in the future. Cannabis, technology, overpopulation. There's a lot of things that are gonna happen, maybe in our lives. I'm young, I might see it at 80, but there's a lot of things that is up to a father figure to determine, and I think that's also a big phrase in choosing, for instance, whether you want your kid to do this way or that way, whether you beat your kid, whether your kid doesn't have a father and looks to somebody else as a father. And I think really rich people and poor people, that's a big disadvantage because people can't relate as well. And then between different cultures, because I've noticed that too, different cultures can't relate. It's also kind of like this seedling thing. We're from different fields, so we grow different ways. And then when you try to merge them, it's hard to merge, and you still, even when you do that, you need that father figure to bring two cultures together. It's really like that. And I think there is no father figure to bring rich and poor together. I think that it is dividing. I think that the poor people have some points. You know what I'm saying? I grew up around a lot of poor people. A lot of my friends are poor, family members. I've seen that. I went to a really good school. I've seen a lot of rich people, and I see how people think about their other race, this other seed. You know what I'm saying? Amongst it. And that's what I bring out in Highwayz. We're a family of all sorts. We like to talk and converse with everybody. And we like to bring that family being back to our area, to our society. And I think, that we can do some productivity. And that cannabis, man, should be educating the youth, in a different light.
My gosh, I love the analogy of the seed and the way that it's watered as this environment, and have family being a major pillar, guidance and leadership. The child of a human is basically can't do shit because some children of other animals are born and they can already move and feed themselves and things like that.
We're people being
helpless. And so we need the leadership and
It's also raising people babied also at young ages. I know some older people that were able to think, work at 9 years old. And just hearing that, it's like, wow, man, we have
That's right.
cognitive thought at a young age.
Yes.
We're just babied.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then,
we can't coddle too much, of course.
We can't coddle too much.
We need to let the bird fly out of the nest. Okay, last question. What's the most beautiful thing in the world?
Wow, man, the most beautiful thing in the world. Probably the most beautiful thing in the world is probably a really nice scenic sight. Whether it be looking up at some solar eclipse, or whether it's being in Rome and seeing like the Colosseum or the Vatican,
We love it. We adore it.
Exactly. I think those are some of the most beautiful things. And I think the other most beautiful thing is having family and friends in a group that all care for each other. I think it's a beautiful thing. Those are the two most beautiful things, and the ugliest thing in this world is money.
Damn. Okay, so some beautiful scenery, also like beautiful history, and then like this family, like this beautiful family, cohesive community, that kind of stuff. And then on the flip side, money as the ugliest.
Yeah.
Damn. There's hella truth to that. Hella truth to what you just said there, and I'm very excited. I don't think many people envision a money world, but it's quite exciting to really paint your imagination vividly about how civilizations could still flourish at even greater extents in a post-money world, because it's extremely possible. It's just that our imaginations are restricted in terms of this, like this monetary exchange of time and of goods.
Absolutely.
With this, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have human race as a whole. We have a lot of really intelligent things in our brain that could get out there. You know, I think that thinking about those other things should be where we should be instead of arguing between each other. You know, it's hard for everybody to communicate between other people, other groups, other races. And the biggest thing is that it still trickles up to the highest form of a father or, you know, any type of society. You know what I'm saying? Not just a democratic society, you know, and that's the biggest thing is for everyone to come together and be like, all right, where are we at? You know, what do we want to do with everybody and everything? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? You know, there's so many different planets out there and it's so big. We're just such a tiny particle in this world. You know, and there's so much speculation that I think is cool to bring upon, not just speculating on the dollar and just focusing on the dollar instead of the other side, you know?
From the seed of cannabis to the seed of children being born into the world. John, this has been super fun, super wide-ranging, my man.
Absolutely.
It's been a huge pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and teaching us.
Guys, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came on. We had this, you know, in-depth discussion. This was super fun. Local community, fifth floor, first floor in the same building. So great to see Highwayz prospering and you guys growing and teaching us about all of the intricacies about what's actually going on as the business of cannabis. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Does Highwayz do any codes on their checkout? Do you guys do codes?
We're coming up with it right now.
Okay,
we should have some for HempCon or right after HempCon.
Okay, cool. Maybe we do a simulation code once that's built in. Maybe we do a simulation code. So do check out the link in the bio for that as well. Check out the info in the bio. Highwayz.co, give them a look. Check out their Instagram as well. Get talking more cannabis as a business conversations around our communities. Let's get going on that, everyone. And give us your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Keep building out the community and the conversation. Shout out to Ron Vargas for producing and directing. We love you very much. And go and build the future, everyone. Keep supporting artists and entrepreneurs that you believe in. Support them. You can support us if you believe in us below as well. Much love. Build the future. Take care. We'll see you soon. Peace.
That was good.
That was epic, bro. You did so well.